we will now talk about press releases. Very important aspect of promoting any show that you're going to be involved with. I think maybe to give it some context, the things that are usually very, very important would be a press release, so that you're able to send that out to media. And coupled with it again is a photograph. You need one or two pictures, whether they are of yourself, whether they are of the production. It's something that's going to be able to, for the audiences, people who are going to see that photograph, remember that people are seeing this at the end of what you are preparing or what you're sending. So when you have a photograph in mind, you may have 10 options. Think of what it is that that reader or that viewer is going to want to see, or what message you want to be able to give through. So therefore that photograph becomes very, very important. And often production pictures are better selected, I would say, by the media, simply because they give a far more dramatic effect. So you need a decent photographs, production shots, or profile shots. You need a good press release, which I will go into detail now. And then, of course, the other marketing elements, which I'll speak about later on. That is a poster, that is any kind of simple design elements like a Facebook cover page, an e-flyer. You can even think about doing a banner and where you're going to place that banner, whether it's indoor or outdoor. And of course posters, which I will get into detail later on. But for now, let's talk about press releases. I think it's very, very important that most people who are involved with theatre, and even anybody can do it. A press release is basically what you're sending out to the media, and to all media. We're talking electronic media, we're talking print media, we're talking radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, the whole lot. And these days, of course, blogging, all of them, they require a decent press release with information. So what you need first is to be able to consolidate all the information that needs to go into that release and will be communicated to whoever is going to be reading it or seeing it. Important for you to bear in mind with the press release is that it doesn't have to be long. 1 page is more than enough. I personally prefer 1.5 pages at about 11 point per font. A font size of about 11 point. Choose a font that's also a nice font, something that's simple, something that is clean. Times New Roman, for example, is just too busy. It's a little bit too 80s, so go for something like an Arial, go for a Calibri. Find a font that also is suitable with your personality. Don't get overly fancy. We don't need things that are in bold. Please don't bold in a press release, except for your heading. We don't need things that are in capitals. Often people want to be able to capitalize their production name. No. And the reason for that is that because when you send that off to an arts journalist, an arts writer, or even an editor, they have to change that. So you're giving them extra work. So keep it in a way that it's camera ready. It can be used as it is. Earlier on I said that I prefer 1.5 pages because you also want to compact it with lovely information that is not too flowery, but is more newsworthy and will promote it without boasting, but sort of say all kinds of things which are a little bit more of news interest. And by that I mean if the production has context, or if the artist has context. In other words, they have won awards before, major highlights in their lives before, a context of something that relates the production to something that happens. Maybe at that point in time, it's an important historic happening, or it has historic context. Use it, bring it in, and although it's not necessarily arts news, but news or hard news, it can still be used. Okay, so that the arts journalists are not the only ones that I focus on. I would highly recommend try the main news. Often productions, there are stories that are a little bit more than just simple production that's going on stage. Find that, interrogate it, and it can have included as a paragraph, not long, but as a paragraph. So for the press release, you need to start in your first paragraph, you lure them in. So the first paragraph is what's going to introduce the information that you're trying to share, and therefore you need to catch them. I spend a lot of time trying to get that first paragraph right, and you want to have all the information in the first paragraph. Where it's on, what it is, who's involved, etc. You can't fit all of that into the first paragraph, so you condense, you edit, and you know precisely what is fundamental. It's always very good to come with an exciting, a dynamic new production by, or heralding in the summer, this great production, etc. Find those words that are going to best describe the culture, the feeling, the identity of the production. Also with press releases, keep the paragraphs short. They don't have to be very long. Remember to include something about the artists involved, whether it's the creative team or the performers. But again, if you're working with a Manny Manham, a Janice Honeyman, a John Carney, for example, they have a reputation in this country. They're already legends in this country. Refer to that. Kind of write a paragraph. Each of them deserve one paragraph if you're going to be working with them. Those sort of things you need to look out for. You need to source. Remember also at the end of it to give a media contact. Quotes are very good. I would highly recommend that the director of the show said that this production is going to be in such a vein, etc., etc. So you find a quote. You ask them for a quote. If one doesn't show the head behind it, the intelligence behind it, the reason why, not, again, superficial, shallow nonsense, something which has meaning, whether it is from the heart or whether it has historic or even relevant fact today, use those in the press release. And then to end off, I think what is fundamental is that you also format it. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes. Get somebody to read them, please. Make sure your grammar is correct. Give it to a friend, give it to a mama bear, give it to a papa bear, give it to whoever you know, whatever, to have a read through it, etc., so that it gets out of your head and somebody else has another look who's going to be, somebody else is going to be looking at it as well. Share it before you send.